Hey, I'm Tony Lee. Welcome to Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast. Every weekday, my co-host Nykki breaks down the latest research, shares real stories, and talks about the stuff nobody warned us about. If you've got a story of your own, whether you're in perimenopause, right in the thick of it, or on the other side, head to hotflasher.com/share, and you might be featured in an upcoming episode. Here's Nykki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got some big news today that I think you're going to want to hear about. So there's this drug called Fezolinetant that just became available on the NHS in England. And honestly, when I first read about this, I had to look up how to pronounce it twice. Fezolinetant. Still working on that one. But pronunciation aside, this is actually pretty significant news for anyone dealing with hot flashes. What makes this interesting is that it's not a hormone therapy. For women who can't take HRT because of breast cancer history, blood clot risks, or just don't want to go that route, the options have been pretty limited. We're talking about antidepressants that might help a little, or some lifestyle changes that work for some people, but definitely don't work for everyone. This new drug works completely differently. Instead of replacing hormones, it blocks something called neurokinin 3 receptors in your brain. These receptors are apparently part of what triggers hot flashes when estrogen levels drop. The research suggests it can reduce the frequency and severity of moderate to severe hot flashes by about half. Now, the NHS doesn't just hand out new drugs for fun. They did a whole cost-effectiveness analysis, and they determined this was worth covering. That tells me they think it's going to make a real difference for women who don't have other good options. But I'm curious about the side effects, because there are always side effects. The most common ones reported were stomach issues and insomnia, which, let's be honest, if you're already dealing with menopause insomnia, adding more sleep problems to the mix might not feel like the best trade-off. What I find encouraging is that this represents a shift toward developing treatments specifically designed for menopause symptoms, rather than just repurposing drugs that were created for other conditions. Maybe we're finally getting to a point where menopause research is getting some serious attention and funding. Now, speaking of getting attention, there's this whole explosion of menopause products hitting the market right now, and doctors are starting to raise some red flags about it. AP News just ran a piece about how the menopause product industry is having what they called a hot minute. And I have to appreciate that phrasing. We're seeing everything from supplements promising to eliminate hot flashes, to cooling pajamas, to special smoothie powders. The market is projected to hit something like $24 billion by 2030. That's a lot of money being thrown at our symptoms. But medical experts are warning women to be really skeptical about a lot of these marketing claims. The problem is that most of these products don't have to go through the same rigorous testing that prescription drugs do. A company can basically say their supplement supports hormonal balance or promotes cooling comfort or whatever, without having to prove those claims with solid clinical trials. Dr. Stephanie Fabian from the Mayo Clinic pointed out something that really resonated with me. She said that women are so desperate for relief that they're willing to try almost anything, and companies are absolutely capitalizing on that desperation. I've noticed this myself when I'm researching topics for the show. There are so many products with these vague, promising names like menopause support formula or hot flash relief complex. And when you dig into the actual ingredients, it's often just basic vitamins or herbs that might have one small study suggesting they could possibly help with something menopause related. Don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-supplement or anti-trying things that might help, but I think we deserve better than marketing that preys on our frustration with symptoms that genuinely impact our quality of life. The article mentioned that some women are spending hundreds of dollars a month on various menopause products, hoping something will work. That adds up fast, especially when a lot of these things don't have strong evidence behind them. My take is this: if you want to try something, do a little research first. Look for products that have actual clinical studies, not just testimonials. And maybe run it by your doctor, especially if you're taking other medications. Which brings me to something that I think is really important to understand. There's new research from King's College London that's giving us a much clearer picture of how menopause actually affects our brains. And it's more complex than I think most of us realised. This wasn't just a small study. They looked at brain scans, cognitive tests, and mental health assessments from over 800 women going through different stages of menopause. What they found helps explain why so many of us feel like our brains just aren't working the same way during this transition. The researchers discovered that menopause doesn't just cause brain fog, it actually changes brain structure and connectivity in measurable ways. Areas of the brain involved in memory, executive function, and emotional regulation showed real differences between premenopausal and postmenopausal women. But what I found really interesting is that these changes weren't necessarily permanent. Some women's brains seem to adapt and find new ways to maintain cognitive function. It's like our brains develop workarounds for the hormonal changes. The study also found that the timing of when these changes happen varies a lot between women. Some women experience cognitive changes early in perimenopause, while others don't notice anything until after their periods stop completely. This research helps validate what so many women have been saying for years. When we tell doctors we're having trouble concentrating or remembering things, we're not imagining it. There are real measurable changes happening in our brains. The mental health piece was significant too. The study found that women with more severe cognitive symptoms were also more likely to experience depression and anxiety during menopause. It's all connected. What this research doesn't tell us yet is exactly what we should do about these changes. The scientists noted that hormone therapy might help some women, but it's not appropriate or effective for everyone. They're calling for more research into targeted interventions. I think understanding this connection between hormones, brain function, and mental health is going to be crucial for developing better treatments. Not just for hot flashes and physical symptoms, but for the cognitive and emotional challenges that can be just as disruptive. So where does all this leave us? We've got a new prescription option for hot flashes that might help women who can't use hormones. We've got a marketplace full of products making big promises with limited evidence. And we've got research confirming that menopause affects our brains in ways we're just beginning to understand. I keep thinking about how much is changing in this space, both the good and the problematic. Are we finally getting the attention and research we deserve? Or are we just becoming a more profitable market to target?
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.